Okay, so rest in peace to Rich Homie Quan, who is found deceased in his home today, age 34 years old. No foul play. You can do the math of what probably happened, but we'll wait for that to come out. But his passing, I think, is good landmark time to look back at the whole YSL trial and the whole saga of what it means, and kind of an insight into people and what goes on in the entertainment industry, because Rich Homie Quan and Young Thug's friction, they were together at the beginning of their careers briefly, made several huge hit songs, and fell out probably over some minor personal reasons, which led to Quan's father's barbershop being shot up, Little Big Nut being deceased, which is at the centerpiece of the trial. And now we have a new internet celebrity, YSL Woody. The world gets stranger and stranger. He's everybody's favorite guy. He's on internet dating shows, which I don't care, but it's just so strange what you people out there in YouTube land like. But you don't care about anything. You just want to be hit with another dopamine blast. This social media content is now like crack cocaine. Show me something shocking. Oh, now show me something shocking again. Now show me something shocking again. So you get to watch YSL Woody act crazy on the stand every day, and then now he's racing Hellcats, and then he has a dating thing with that deformed person, Shamar, like so strange. Oh my God, it's so strange. But anyways, you go back to 2012, Rich Homie Quan has his first hit, Bankroll. Now, Rich Homie Quan's hit songs, what's they called, Flex. I liked his songs. Like Young Thug, it was just a little too esoteric, a bit much. I couldn't get into it. And now, if you really go back and look at the history of it, you can kind of see what happened as Quan and Thug. Well, Quan was big first. Quan had a hit song before Thug. And they definitely, I don't think either one necessarily copied the other. They probably influenced each other because they came out around the same time. Quan, if anything, might have been a tad earlier with a hit. I mean, they both had been working long before that. Similar styles. That's why they went together so well on Lifestyle. My lifestyle, that song. So apparently there was that's where some of the seeds of dissension were sown. BIRDMAN wanted Quan and the rest to wear rich gang shirts, but Quan was Nut and Quan's dad's artist, and they had their own plan. They didn't want to be folded into what BIRDMAN was doing, and as we know, BIRDMAN was good at folding in whoever the hottest people were and then not paying them. Lil Wayne, and then Drake, Nicki Minaj, they all had to fight to get their money. Manny Fresh, I mean, the guy has an indisputable track record of he won't pay unless he has to. But he didn't make that up. Trust me. Even on my small scale with different distributors with my movies and different things I know about, the entertainment industry, especially music, has run off of that forever. Shout out to Tom Gilardi, distributes music independently, locally in Detroit, an older Italian gentleman. And he told us a story back in the day. His buddy was managing one of the big heavy metal bands, I think Quiet Riot, circa 1980. He goes to pick up the royalty check. They give him the check. And he says, oh no, I found the vinyl plant where you've been pressing the records, and I subpoenaed them or got the information from them. So I know we didn't sell 721,000 records. We sold 1.1 million records. And the executive at, it was one of the major record labels, Capitol, Warner, one of them, he didn't dispute it. He took the check back that was for whatever, $2 million based on the one amount of record sales, put it in his desk, and he already had a different check prepared for the correct amount and signed, and he simply gave it to him. So they will try to not pay you. And so Birdman learned that from others. He didn't make that up, but he certainly does it. So he wanted to fold Quan into Rich Gang. Wayne was bucking at this point, and of course, remember the preliminary indictment in RICO that Thug and Birdman, they were unindicted co-conspirators when Pee Wee Roscoe shot up Lil Wayne's tour bus. I mean, they almost got charged then. So this has been going on. So you can really look at all this as strong evidence, I see, as Birdman behind the scenes being, whether he specifically tells people or it's a tacit means unspoken. There's no such thing as a tacit conspiracy, right? That's why that phrase trained to go is so important. Say you're Al Prophet shooter and you're trained to go. So you hear, oh, they took Al Prophet's chain at the club. I don't have to call you and tell you to go bang those people. You're trained to go, you know to go do it. Well, that way, if you get caught, you can't say you were in a conspiracy. Al Prophet told me to do it. You just knew to do it. But I never told you to do it. So did Birdman make explicit deals with people? Who knows? I will say, if you don't remember, if you're young, literally, Wayne started saying, I want my money. He was the biggest artist in the world. Birdman gets Thug under his arm, and they call his album The Barter. I mean, it was pretty, that's probably why I didn't care. I wasn't no like Lil Wayne fanboy, he was whatever, but to see what Birdman did to him with Thug, I never really liked Thug, to be honest, as a person in that whole scene. He didn't want to pay Wayne, so he got a replacement Wayne. And Rich Homie Quan would have been part of that too, and Nut and Rich Homie Quan's father didn't want to go under that. So Thug's tour manager, Pee Wee Roscoe, convicted of shooting up Lil Wayne's tour bus, and now Thug's underlings in YSL charged with killing Big Nut, shooting, I guess Rich Homie Quan's dad got shot too, and now Rich Homie Quan is dead. Not that that's their fault, but what a lot of stress on Rich Homie Quan. He was poised to be the next big thing, and he sort of was, but the whole thing with Rich Gang derailed him. Maybe he was, I can't remember what went on. They kind of maybe got a little bit blackballed, and then after his stuff was getting shot up, he fell back. And he's recently been making new music that people say was good, and he was complaining about why is it, Thug and Quan both had that melodic, and they could make songs and hooks, but Thug had all that violence and the gang part in it too, which maybe it started out as an affectation, maybe it was real, but it certainly became somewhat real. And if you think the YSL, YFN war was overblown, violent crime, literally, like shootings and murders, went down 50% after those two crews were indicted. That's real. So, Atlanta's small enough, like the city limits, Metro Atlanta's huge, 6 million people, but city limits of Atlanta is only about maybe a little under 500,000 people. That's small enough that, those rap groups that got 7, 8 key members and 100 underlings, that's hundreds of people. And then when you throw in their families, that's thousands of people being fed off YSL and YFN. Those are the Bloods and the Crips, so to speak, the GDs and the BDs, the whatever equivalent. They're the two, it's believable and plausible that they're the two most impactful gangs in town now. we have yet to go to the jury, and it's for them to decide. Speaking of deciding in the court, what a insight into the poor quality of the American judicial system. What a bad job they've done. But of course, they should have had a simpler case. And the saga of YSL Woody getting on the stand and doing what he's doing after making a plea, that type of stuff, he ain't the first to do that, trust me. That goes on frequently. You go in there and you get what you want out of the police, but you don't give them what they want. That happens in cases all the time. Well, not all the time, but they're not the first to do it. If you got a group of people that aren't scary and can move in and out of jail and get on the stand and lie and and people that are communicating behind the scenes and holding firm, no, we're gonna make this plan and we're gonna stick to it, you can do a lot. But the trial, no matter if they're found guilty, the fact that the first judge was removed for an inappropriate action, right there is at least grounds for an appeal. So, no matter what, if they're convicted, appeal is going to immediately be granted just based on that. And so, if you don't understand or didn't keep up, because this has been going on for such a ridiculously long amount of time at this point, and they're talking about they want it done by the end of the year. Wow. So 4 more months, or September, October, November, December, 4 more months of this. So as Woody, whose testimony, so many criminal cases are based on the word of someone who the prosecutor himself is saying is a serious bad criminal. It's a pretty weak and questionable way to build cases. The prosecutor will point out, who is it you want us to get to testify? I don't know. It's a Gordian knot of a problem. But so as soon as Woody didn't conform to what he was supposed to on the stand, well, not as soon as, but as that drug on, the judge, Glanville, the black male, took Woody and the prosecutor in his chambers and probably just, hey, if you keep playing around, I'm going to put you in jail. Well, and then Brian Steele, Young Thug's amazing attorney, pointed out, you can't do that. So that's clearly you cannot, the judge is impartial. He can't have meetings about what's going on with just the prosecutor and a witness or something. You can't do that. That's the defense attorney. You can't have the prosecutor and the judge and a witness in the room and no representative of the defense. That's crazy. And then the judge didn't want to admit he made the mistake and said, if you don't tell me who told you that happened, I'm going to find you in contempt of court. Well, it, of course, was Judge Glanville who was in contempt of court because he did have to get recused. I don't follow that many trials, like that, but I read about them. A judge getting recused, they'll get recused early because they have a conflict of interest. But a judge being recused because they made a very serious and basic legal mistake with possibly the key witness, accused trigger man in homicides, YSL Woody. What a blunder. It's hard. What was that guy thinking? Or what, was he just so frustrated? And speaking of YSL Woody, either he's so dumb, he just, nobody can deal with him and he's throwing a monkey wrench and everything, or he's crazy like a fox, because I haven't watched all the trial. And there's certainly been people whose testimony could victims of shootings and stuff whose testimony could make people not feel positively about YSL and want to convict them. But YSL Woody is certainly being taken in the back inappropriately, grounds for appeal no matter what happens. And if at the end of the trial, Thug will have been sitting in jail going on 3 years, and there's been this malfeasance, and if they get convicted, I mean, I don't think he has the murder conspiracy charges, but they really should have just charged him with if they had it. He's damn near gonna be time served, or he'll be deep into whatever sentence he would theoretically get, so they would probably give him an appeal bond. I mean, I'd be surprised if he's not out early next year. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts about how the trial is going? What's your predictions? Seems like they should have made this much simpler in making this more, in trying to overwhelm the court with all this evidence. It makes you think, well, don't you have a concise, cohesive story to tell? It kind of reminds me of me making my full-length documentaries like Cold War Hero and Heat, Killing Jimmy Hoffa, where tremendous amount of information. I read all these books and articles, interview all these people, and I could easily have 4-hour documentaries, but, well, what story would I be telling if I can't tell you about this situation in an hour or something and make it fast and compelling? Maybe I'm telling too many stories, or maybe the supporting evidence and facts, data I'm using is kind of weak, so I'm trying to give you a whole bunch of weak information to make it seem strong. This case is way too big, too much. I mean, why couldn't they make a clear, concise case, couple snitches, couple witnesses, a little bit of evidence, and say this is what he did? They may have erred. Now, Fani Willis did. Her first big RICO case years ago, if you don't know, was actually against Atlanta teachers. So she used a RICO in a test cheating scandal against 100, maybe not 100, but 35 or something Atlanta public school teachers who were found guilty. They were, and you think, well, what the hell does that mean? Lots of, under Bush and Clinton, there was all sorts of benchmarks set with what public school kids had to test at and all that. So if you're not meeting your benchmarks, the schools aren't getting the funding. So in raising the kids' test scores, raises to vice principals and consulting companies and all type of stuff. So big money in cheating, and they were answering questions for the kids. They were giving the kids answers. It's a big deal thing. Atlanta test cheating scandal, RICO. Look it up. Fani Willis prosecuted that, and she won. But with a criminal gang type of thing, they should have been able to condense this down to something simpler. And with all that time to deal with YSL Woody, how did they not know he was going to do this? I haven't watched it enough again to know. Maybe they've gotten out. Have they gotten out of him what they needed to? That's what's your guys' answer to that? Have they gotten out of Woody what they need or not? I don't know. I just see the occasional highlights of him talking in circles and stumping them. And boy, it's amazing. And he's really embarrassing the criminal justice system down there. Like, he's out, he's flashing money, he's threatening people on Instagram, sort of. Well, he did. Threatening people on Instagram Live still. He's doing the same stuff. And boy, you guys love YSL Woody. Is somebody setting him up to be some type of celebrity? I don't know. Maybe they're... I mean, between him and 6ix9ine, any new potential, well, let's say you're a part of one of these rap crews that gets indicted or RICO'd going forward. You say you're a rapper. You could look at, I mean, Woody's not a rapper, but you could look at Woody, you could look at 6ix9ine, you could look at different people and feel like, well, the one thing that might have stopped me from being turning state's evidence that I'm going to be ostracized, well, no, not necessarily. 6ix9ine's problem was he couldn't make a really hit song on his own, and the team he had that Treyway gave him was making his songs. But if Danny Hernandez, but they loving him in, I mean, he's making money, he's streaming, they got him all in the Spanish-speaking countries, he's doing just fine. He's got all them cars, and YSL Woody is under Young Thug's umbrella. He was just a guy apparently being used, you know, for things risky to him and beneficial to others. And he has a lot of reason. I don't know if the whole tension between him and Thug thing is real, though it could be. So if you don't know Woody's criminal history, so he went to prison on a gun charge. He gets out, and within a week or two of him being out, now mind you, Thug has put his name in lyrics about Woody Pull Up and all these things. He gets out in like 2018, and within like a week or two of him getting out, he goes to like a gym, like a municipal, like the gym, you know, like a neighborhood parks and recreation where they play basketball, and he has like a assault rifle in a duffel bag, and he sets it on the bleachers. And whether Thug probably, I mean, Woody made himself hot, but Thug helped him too. So he got picked right back up and then had to do another 5 years. Maybe that was in 2017. I'm not sure of the timeline, but so when he was that famous interrogation footage where he got pulled over with a gun, he had just gotten out again. So this guy couldn't, I mean, he was just getting caught with guns over and over and over and over and over. I can see him wanting to distance himself from Thug. I don't know. He's getting more positive attention now than he ever did under Young Thug's umbrella, who just had him getting negative attention. I'll just say it like that, which is an interesting commentary on the current state of America, or maybe things are always really like this. You know, people are talking about how much the world changed or how different people are. Maybe, but maybe we just see it now. I mean, do humans really change that fast? Maybe we just see, in the past, you only, you know, up until really social media, you know, it was hard to get your voice amplified. Very few people, and it was all very controlled. But now, someone like me or other people can hit record on their phone. You don't even need a camera. You don't need a staff. You don't need anything. And talk. And if the public finds it compelling, you get a voice. So, I mean, it's good in general, but we really get to see how people are. I don't think people are changing that much. I don't think the streets are watered down. I think it's the way it always was. You just didn't know it. It was kept hidden. You think YSL Woody's the first person to do something like this? Absolutely not. But he's doing a good job. Now, again, surprising to me, he's on these Pop the Red Balloon shows, but I don't know. I don't even think the girls on there know who he is. They don't care. People don't care. Nobody cares other than only people that care about this stuff is people that's really in their lifestyle. Now, people will pay lip service to it. But why does a person that works at the Amazon factory really care if someone snitched? Or the box, whatever, the shipping where you all work at now, Amazon shipping. Well, you don't really care if someone snitched. It's like Sammy the Bull told a story about moving in an apartment complex in Phoenix. And it was like in a rough neighborhood because he didn't have any money. And there was like some black guy running a drug ring, and he was like, "Are you Sammy the Bull? Oh, I love you, man." Like, he didn't care. To him, Sammy the Bull's a celebrity. which trumps everything now. YSL Woody is now a celebrity. His personality is bizarre enough that he's entertaining. Hey, good for him, I guess. I don't really care. Not promoting him or unpromoting him. But yep, so Rich Homie Quan deceased, and I think that him and Thug being neck and neck for being the next big thing, the replacement of Wayne. Thug got rid of, they got rid of Quan's side so that he could be the golden child. I mean, that's what it seems like. Did BIRDMAN tell him? Oh, smart master manipulator gets you to do stuff without explicitly telling you. Like, I always think of the example of the week before Malcolm X was assassinated, the final call, the artwork on the front, so Malcolm X's head bouncing down some stairs. Now, if that's a political cartoon, you certainly can't say that's conspiracy to commit murder. That's protected, that's satire. But when you have an organization like the Nation of Islam in the 60s with lots of guys who had been to prison for violence and who the nation had really changed their life and had a very strong allegiance to the nation, if someone's presented as an enemy with their head chopped off, maybe they don't see that as a metaphor. And a week later, Malcolm X, aka Detroit Red, was no longer with us. So I'm interested, I don't want to say excited because that implies I want people to go to jail, but like, are they ever going to indict some of these executives? And I ain't talking about Puffy. Like, think about the Young Thug case. Like, part of the circumstantial evidence against him, well, one of the key things is, did he rent the car that was used in the Big Nut homicide? So Thug's defense was, I got all these guys around. There's people at my house, friends, family members, artists signed to me. We rent cars all the time. The keys are in a box in the front. I probably did rent the car to kill Big Nut. That don't mean I was part of a conspiracy. I mean, that's reasonable doubt, sounds like to me, because he's right. Even though, personally, I think they were getting rid of Quan and Nut so that Thug would be the only one. That's what I think. And he fell out with Quan because they say Quan, they were comparing them to, and Quan was basically like, I ain't on that gay shit. And he probably just said it without even thinking about it. And I mean, I could see being Jeffrey, being Young Thug, and if someone, I ain't on that. Hey, you're like Al Prophet. I ain't on that gay shit. Oh, hey, we can't be cool no more. I get it from Young Thug's side, but that's what it seems like to me. They got rid of Quan. To me, he made better. I like his, maybe I just didn't get into Thug or whatever because of his outward appearance, but Quan had several, like his big hit songs he got hundreds of millions of views. He had a couple mega hits early, like 2012, 2014, like before Thug. It was like he was the artist a little bit ahead of Thug. He could have been the next big thing. But they both weren't going to be because they were too similar. They both from Atlanta. It all makes sense to me. I think the YFN Lucci thing came in later. That was kind of like the remnants of, dealing with the other side of what Big Nut's team was or whatever. But definitely was a gang war, crime, violent crime, down 50% in Atlanta since these two crews been locked up. That's wild to say. So from a law enforcement perspective, I mean, if their job is to bring down crime, now, crime was way up in the pandemic. It doesn't mean it's hard to exactly correlate the two, but gotta be some type of correlation. So what's your guys' prediction? I think that, fuck, man, if there's a mistrial after all this, if they have a mistrial, they're not gonna want to do this again. Chris Lighty said, or no, who's Young Thug's unindicted co-conspirator? Kevin Liles. When is 300 Entertainment? Oh, that was the point I didn't finish making. If you're gonna say to someone like Young Thug, because you're providing cars, different stuff to your label mates, gang members, friends, whatever they are, and they're doing things, you're gonna say, oh, that makes you a crime boss. Well, the money's coming from the labels. You mean to tell me 50 and 60-year-old men, Kevin Liles, Leo Cohen, who've been around rap forever, been around gangsters, they didn't know what's going on? Now, they certainly are too smart to have a meeting where they tell Young Thug to knock somebody off. I'm not implying that. But like, those are the Palpatine emperors. Those are the people doing the Jedi mind tricks to make it seem like, oh, those guys are doing what? Oh, no. Come on now. So rest in peace, Rich Homie Quan. He was making big hits before Young Thug, but there was only room for one new golden child to replace the unpaid king, Lil Wayne at the time, by the Palpatine Emperor, Birdman, unindicted co-conspirator in the shooting of the tour bus of Lil Wayne.